Today's scripture comes from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 11. It reads, "Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing." In typical conversation, we do not start off with therefore. So we should probably ask ourselves, well, what is it there for? What is Paul telling the church at Thessalonica and us today? When you start at verse 1, it's talking about Jesus coming and wiping out evil for all time, that we're looking forward to this day. So we stay encouraged because we know that the evils that we see today are not going to last always. And then we can also apply that to our lives when there are things happening in our lives and we are less than encouraged by those events. In the book of Genesis, there is a man named Joseph, and his life story begins around chapter 37, and it carries us through the biography of his life. Joseph found himself in situations and locations that were less than favorable, such as we all do. In life, you may come into a situation that's less than favorable for you, meaning you're in a job you don't like, or maybe some life events happen. You didn't think you would be divorced. You didn't think you'd be a single parent. Whatever events happen, that's a situation in which you find yourself. Joseph has some parallels to that, and I encourage you to read Joseph's life, and it begins again at chapter 37 in the book of Genesis. But when you're in those situations, what you're going to do is hold on to this trophy of grace. What do I mean? The trophy of grace is this thing that God has given to us. God has given to us this tremendous grace to help us stay encouraged. That's what Paul is talking about. Yes, Jesus is going to redeem us once and for all time, but Jesus redeems us every day. So when we're in situations that we don't necessarily like, we hold on to this hope. We hold on to this encouraging thought that I have this trophy of grace given to me by Jesus, and he's going to change the situation for me, because that's what happened in Joseph's life. 2, location. You can either be physically in a location you do not like, or metaphorically in a location. Joseph had both situations. Joseph found himself in a pit, sold into slavery, then put in prison for something he did not do. So Joseph physically in his location was in an awful situation, but he was also metaphorically in a location where he was disconnected. He felt like from God, because God had given him a dream when he was a little boy. And so, or a young man, because he was about 17 when his life events pick up for us in Genesis chapter 37. But in all of our lives, it's the same. We may be in a location that we do not like. Maybe you live in a city you do not like, or a state you do not like. Perhaps you're on a job that you necessarily do not like, or metaphorically, you're in a state of career that you do not like. Either way, God has a purpose and a plan for the location where you are. God had a purpose and a plan for Joseph being where he was at a specific point in history. 3, when we look at situation and location, we have to say to ourselves that God, in his sovereignty, decided that for us to be in this situation and location is going to be for our good and his glory. God wastes nothing. He is the most purposeful being who exists, which means every single thing that he allows to occur, it has a purpose. In our humanity, we do not understand it, but we're going to walk by faith, and we're going to trust that as we're holding on to this trophy of grace that God has given us, we're running this race, and Jesus has said to us, hey, you're going to make it. It's going to be okay. We're holding on to these promises. Then we will see the life events turn around, just like Joseph. In a matter of hours, Joseph went from the pit to the palace, and he saved his entire family. You may be the one called to save your family. So hold on to that trophy of grace. Be encouraged to know that God is purposeful and that he will redeem and deliver you. And once you're delivered from your situation, you're going to hand off that trophy of grace to someone else. We are so honored that you joined us for our devotional today here at Sun Valley. May you please subscribe, like, and share. Help us continue to spread the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. We'll see you soon.